All right, we're back. Welcome back to the OT Between the Sheets podcast. I'm your host, Jasmine.
And I'm Nicole.
And we are back with our second episode. Nicole, how are you feeling about this second episode?
I'm actually really excited. Y'all, side note, please excuse my voice. I was at a dance competition this weekend, and let's just say your girl gets excited fast and for everyone. And now I barely have a voice. So I apologize if it's a little difficult to hear what I'm trying to say. But I am very much excited for this podcast episode.
Okay. I mean, this weekend was a big weekend for you.
Mm-hmm.
So last week, we talked about Valentine's Day being your favorite holiday, and this one being our first Valentine's Day together. The people want to know, how was your Valentine's Day, Nicole?
It was fabulous. Fucked all night. Psych, I'm just playing. Let's see, what did I do this weekend? My girl surprised me immensely, and I am forever grateful. I came home to candle lights going all the way up the steps with rose petals. It was just really nice. Of course, y'all know your girl decided that I was going to take the dog out for a walk, and I walked downstairs, not having picked up all of those candles, and inevitably stepped on one. Damn near broke my neck going down the stairs and have like a puncture wound on my foot. Was it worth it? Yeah, absolutely. I also got a specific menu created for me. Shout out to Canva.
Custom menu. Had a starter, main course, side dish, beverage, dessert.
And I had options, y'all. I had options. And y'all know I can't make decisions for Jack. So I had options on what I wanted to eat. And then I was able to help cook a little bit and then be cooked for. I had the beverages flowing all night. It was beautiful. And then, of course, because I have so many other responsibilities, I spent the rest of the weekends at a dance competition in which my girls did phenomenal as tap dancers. So, yeah.
Shout out to them.
Shout out to them. But yeah, it was a very busy weekend, but it was a very good weekend.
Right. It started on Thursday. She got a nice little invitation to our surprise dinner.
Yes.
Shout out to my coworker for giving me that idea to like send her a little evite.
Mm-hmm. It was a good touch. So y'all listening out there, if y'all want to impress y'all partner, listen, send them an invite, like a random invite that's like, here's a surprise. I don't care what the surprise is. And then go do that little extra bit, because our plans were to go out for dinner, and then we decided that we needed to be adults and save money. And also, even though we planned 2 weeks in advance to book nothing was open. And so we were just like, screw it. We'll just, eat at home. And this is how it turned out. So
Right.
nothing, at least for me, nothing is too corny or too like, wow, that's all we're doing. It shows thoughts. And I love that for me. So.
And we also got a good chunk of time unplugged, which doesn't always happen, us both being unplugged for some chunk of time.
Yes, agreed. And that actually rarely ever happens.
All right,
so when I'm never not on my phone. So
how are you rating this Valentine's Day?
On a scale of
1 being terrible, 10 being the best Valentine's Day you've ever had.
Ooh.
A 10. Thank you. All right, so
wow.
Anyway, moving on. Next episode. What are we talking about this episode?
Anywho.
What
are we talking about this week? Y'all, so you know how when you do your work and then you go back and you review the work and you're like, ooh, I can't believe I said that. So last week, we had made the statement that having sex or being sexual was about as natural as brushing your teeth. Then when I thought about it, I was like, that shit is not natural at all.
What do you mean it's not natural?
It's not. Because think about it. Sex in and of itself, like the actual act of sex. We're not talking about sexuality in general, because that is an entire episode all on its own, which should be coming soon. But when I'm specifically talking about the act of sex, it does not come naturally. That is something that is learned, that is practiced, and practice does not make perfect. It just brings progress.
Okay.
It's one of those things that actually had me chuckling because I was like, not for nothing, like when we're out here, learning the sex ed things or, not learning it, by the powers that be. And so now we're trying to figure it out on our own. What are we doing? And it makes me think of like, little baby deers when they are first born and they're trying to take their first steps and they just stumble on all over themselves. When you think about your first time getting it on or getting it in, half the time you're like, what's going where? Who's touching what? How does it feel? And that's not to say that like everyone's first time is awkward and uncomfortable.
Oh, so not everyone's first time is a broadcast show,
Right, exactly. Okay. But it's also not everyone's first time is like a porn show either. Okay. It's just not, it's not happening. So I wanted to kind of recant that a bit and kind of go into a little bit more about like sexual behavior being a natural part of the human experience, but can be an unnatural act that we partake in if that is something that you want to partake in. And it is something that we have to like work towards enjoying, work towards gaining that pleasure. Some things I like to think about, as we were preparing for this episode, I was going back through like my sex school notes.
Little notes.
Yeah, my little notey notes. And one of the things that I, came across was this thing that's like sexual behavior is a biopsychosocial event, right? So we talked about that in the last episode. Biological, psychological, and social. So there are a lot of things that influences how we engage in sex. Whether it's your body type and being able to fit together, whether it's what sensations feel like to you. So like some people might be like hot-bodied, if you will. Yes, I'm looking at you. I'm talking to you.
Why am I a hot body?
Hot body. You stay hot. Always talking about how you hot all the time.
I plead the fifth.
Uh-huh. But then you have other people like me who are freaking cold as hell all the time.
I just think the natural fire Aries in me has me always hot. You know?
Yeah.
It's my sign. Blame the Aries sign.
Blame the Aries.
Or fire signs.
So yeah, and then when you sit there and you start looking at psychologically, what's that look like? Was your first experience regarding to sex, was it a positive experience? Or was it an experience that was potentially traumatic?
Right. Your first time can be traumatizing.
Very much so.
And then I feel like the bigger thing is how are you rebounding after that first time?
Right, exactly. And then you're also looking at was your first time with a stranger? Was your first time with a friend? Was your first time with...
Who's strangers your first time? Crazy.
Wow. Just being judgmental.
I'm sorry.
Ignorant. So, So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, after you figure that all out, then you have the social aspect of it, right? So in TV, movies, social media, any type of entity that you are potentially getting information from other people, right, regardless of how that information is showing up for you, you're having so many mixed signals. Right. So some of the signals are, if you are a confident individual and, you're on top of the world, then that means you're probably great in bed. Or if you're really, really shy and you don't like to talk to people, then that means you probably don't know what you're doing. Right.
I mean, and I feel like right now, especially with this time in this day and age, social media has such a huge impact on so many people and it starts so young. Like you see so much on social media 10, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. And then you got, podcasts where guys are like, you need to be like this or you need to be like that if you're an alpha male. Right. And not really being able to express how you are feeling. And it could be something different or controversial to what you're listening to on these podcasts or these social media platforms. And that does play a significant role in how you're shaping the way you are perceiving things psychologically.
Exactly. I mean, and not for nothing, not every relationship or every person wants to engage in sex. So then there's also this thought process of, when you hit an adult, you can make decisions about who you are not having sex with, when there are people that were having sex well before the age of 18, and there are people who wait until they're 20, 25, 30. The 40-year-old virgin was a whole movie. Have I seen it, y'all? No, I'm sorry.
What?
I'll let you know.
You never seen the 40-year-old virgin?
No, I haven't.
Guys, we're watching that tomorrow night, just so you know.
I'm saying. So that is not something that's like, you know, in order for you to be a well-rounded adult, you have to be engaging in sex. And some people don't even like it. They've never tried it. They have no interest in doing it. And so they don't. But in our society, that's seen as something that is, that could be seen as something that's like, there's something wrong with you, or, you know, what have you.
I think it's just more so the fact that people are scared to be different. Like,
yes,
you need to, if you want to be your own person, you have to be different.
Period.
If you're going to just follow the wave and follow everything like that, why?
Right.
My question is, why are you following what Joe Schmo is doing?
Right.
So if you feel as though that you don't want to engage in some type of sexual activity at the age that you're at, when you see all of your other friends doing it and they're like, oh, you're a bitch because you're not having sex right now,
or a prude, or
whatever
so innocent, or,
corny term they're using.
Right.
But the other aspect of that is the emotional connection that you get when you put these bodies on your body.
Why you say it like that?
That is true.
The connection that you get.
There's emotional connection when
and that plays into the biology part of it, right? Like, you know, strictly biology, like our bodies are, you know, made to reproduce. So you have these biological occurrences that happen: arousal, desire, you know, blood is rushing to certain areas.
Right.
And then once you start really like getting into your likes and dislikes, you can like play off of that. And then when you're able to explain that to other, like to your partners, they can play off of it. You get to discover the things you like or don't like. Then you have fluids coming out of all different ways. You know what I'm saying?
Fluids.
So that's what I'm saying. When I said that, what I meant by it was, it is something that if it is an act or an activity that you want to partake in, you should be able to partake in. And if you can't partake in it, me as an OT, my job is to be like, okay, well then what can we partake in? There are a plethora of sexual activities, okay, that does not involve penetrative sex. Let's just get that out the way. Okay, it does.
So
not
we're not
always
just
have to
saying
be
dry
penetrative.
humping is what you're saying.
What?
Not just dry humping.
Oh, right. There's so many things. So if that's something you want to do and there's something that's stopping you from doing that, whether it's your ability to communicate your wants and needs, whether it's your ability to physically get into a specific position, whether it's your ability to talk to other people because you want to have a partner, but dating is kind of like, how the hell can I do that? You know?
I mean, there's other avenues out there for the information that you need to see what you like and what you don't like.
Right.
Without having to necessarily jump into bed with every person to see whether or not, oh, I like this. I like to be choked. I like to be spanked.
Right.
I like to be tied up.
Right. And then everyone's definition of what is considered good sex is also different.
So what's good sex? What determines good sex? Or is that just something we're saying is specific to the person?
It literally is something that's specific to the person. Because what I would perceive to be like good sex, someone could be like, oh, wow, you really got to get out there, you know? Or like this taboo that like some people will say, you know, vanilla sex is so boring. You got to spice it up. But I know a decent amount of people that are like, nah, vanilla is where it's at. That's the reason why it's one of the only flavors on every single ice cream place.
That's terrible.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Because there's something about it that
vanilla sex gets you going.
Gets you going. You know, and there's nothing wrong with that.
So if you are a fan of the vanilla sex, go ahead. Don't let these butter pecans, these mint chocolate chip people come in here and tell you that your flavor of sex is not good. Do you, vanilla? You do you.
So yeah, I honestly do think it is definitely specific to the person. And then again, like I said, you have to take into consideration whether or not you're participating in like solo sex, so masturbating, or if you are participating in partnered sex. There are various things that influences that. So there's societal gender norms where like if you're a penis owner, you should be like the alpha, the one that takes charge, you know, in the bedroom. You should be the only one that's just calling all the shots. Okay, well, I don't have a penis, but I damn sure know how to call some shots.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? So
interesting.
Yeah. then you sit there and you have hormones, right? So how do hormones, come into play? So we're talking hormones from when you first start puberty, and now your body is trying to like figure out all these signals and cues and whatever. But then you also have the hormones that change during pregnancy, right? Or if you're trying to get pregnant, or if you just had a baby.
Right.
Right. So then all those changes in your hormones, and then you start looking at menopause and the change in hormones again. Or like if you're a penis owner, how much your testosterone goes up or down over the course of time as you age. So these are things that like come into play in your ability to engage in good sex. And so if someone's favorite position is doggy style, right? But now you're pregnant and you can't really be on your stomach.
Right.
Now, is that considered good sex to you right now? Probably not. Unless you want to come to your girl Nicole. Then I can show you how to do that in pelvic floor.
Okay. Yes.
Little side note. Anyway.
Side notes.
Some other things that go in there. Culture.
Religion.
Right. What your health looks like. Are you someone who is chronically ill? I consulted on an article. Shout out to Tiffany Curtis, who did an article about chronic illness and sexuality. And she had asked me, as an OT, like, what are some things that people who deal with chronic illness, like, what are some things they can do? So it depends on what that chronic illness is for you. And there are so many things. First thing that comes to mind, cancer. Right. But then there's also my POTS girlies like I am who have to deal with your heart rate spiking just because you decided to go from laying down to sitting up. Right. Or you have people who have chronic joint issues, whether it's hypermobile and,
those hypermobile people.
You know what I'm saying? The struggle is very real. Or those that are less flexible, constantly pulling tendons, or chronic inflammation, chronic fatigue. Like, these are all different types of illnesses that come into play that would affect your ability to engage in sex. And so when you sit there and you say, oh, well, good sex is da 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 da. Okay, well, that might be good sex for you at this point in your life.
Right. Your age.
Right.
Age plays a huge factor.
Huge factor.
You're people who are over 50 years old now may not be engaging in the same type of pleasurable sex that you had when you was in your 20s.
Exactly. And then also looking at, positive versus negative experiences. Y'all know, if you are someone who likes to kiss people, you have had some serious kissers. And then you have had those people that you were like, you should probably put your lips on nobody else. Or let me give you some tips on how can I help you? How can I help you kiss me how I want to be kissed? Right. But we don't have those conversations.
I think more of the problem is people are more afraid to have those conversations. You're so scared to correct somebody to say, hey, I'm not enjoying this the way I should be enjoying this. But what I like to do is if you were to put your tongue down my throat or something like that.
Right.
But the moment you're giving someone a critique, it's like a bruise to their ego and they're like, oh, okay, whatever.
Yep.
But that positive experience that you had kissing Paul back in the day,
right,
and the negative experience you had kissing Bill, you're trying to get back to those Paul experiences, right, but that constitute what you think is good to you.
Exactly.
And that's a personal choice. But some people are scared to say, hey, you were terrible. We're going to try it again, but this time was not the best.
This time it's not the best.
It's not the best.
Exactly.
Try again tomorrow.
That sexual communication, man, I think it really
I think that's the lack right there. Just not having great sexual communication with the person that you're engaging in sex in can justify whether or not you're going to have great sex, good sex, or bad sex.
Yep. Right. Exactly.
But are you going to say it to them? Are you going to give them the pointers?
Give them the pointer. Y'all, if you take nothing else from this episode, freaking give them the pointers.
Right.
Especially if it's someone that I would hate for you to be getting in a relationship with people because you like their smile, you like the way that they treat you, you like the way that they fit in your family, but the way that they kiss you, the way that they touch you, the way that you guys engage in sex is just not satisfying, and you just don't say anything. Give that person the chance. At least it would be different if you give them the chance and they still are like, no, I'm going to do it my way. Then, okay, maybe you're not compatible. You know, and talking about that sexual compatibility. But allow that person the opportunity to learn what you like and what you don't like. And don't be afraid to say, listen, I don't know what I like and what I don't like. But these are things that I'm interested in trying. So how can we work towards that in a comfortable and safe environment?
And if you're on the opposite end of receiving this type of information, don't take it as a stab or a shot. Like, I'm terrible at this. No, take it as okay, my partner is being communicative with me and telling me ways to improve so that we can have great sex. And then give that same person something back. Because I'm pretty sure you may think you're giving 100 and she could be lacking in something, but she doesn't know that either. But you have to tell that person. So if you learn anything tonight, go tell your partner one way they can improve in bedroom. And then say, like, let's work on something, and we go from there. And then y'all have great sex tonight after you tell them that. And then be like, damn, Jasmine and Nicole's right.
She, he, they, I don't care who you're banging in the bedroom. It doesn't have to be in the bedroom. Office, kitchen, dining room. Just be safe. Okay? Just be safe out here. So that was definitely something that was like weighing on me. And I was like, I don't want people to think that like it really should be natural. Because you know what? Not for nothing. It's awkward. Like, sex can be awkward. And then there's always a first. Almost always a first. Unless you are someone who, you know, your first and last sexual experience is with the same person. Awesome for you. But if not, that means you're changing partners, which means each partner is coming into the bedroom with their own experiences, their own backgrounds, their own beliefs, their own influences of how they operate in the bedroom. And now you got to try to navigate that again.
Right. So, I mean, there is things that can improve for good sex, but also sex is a personal thing. So make it personal and make sure you're communicating what you think is great, what you think is bad, and then build from there. And then the more open you are with your partners, can almost guarantee the better your sexual experience will be.
Yep.
So, what are some acts that are considered natural and accepted while others are considered taboo?
I wouldn't necessarily ask what are some natural and accepted versus taboo. More like, why are some acts considered more naturally accepted while others are considered like, oh, why are you doing that? And I think that's just, again, biopsychosocial influences. There are people that enjoy being like on the brink of having an orgasm. They want to get choked out. Y'all, this was in a book.
So you're referencing the book?
Yes, I am referencing a book that we read. And I was like, all right, get it, girl. That's how you want it. I love that for you. But like, don't choke me out. I don't mind having hands around my neck, you know, with a little gentle pressure. But no, I still want to breathe. I still want to be awake. You know, there are other people that enjoy getting tied up. And other people that are like, don't even think of bringing rope, handcuffs, silk ties. You think you're cute. You're not. Don't touch me with that stuff. Yeah. Right. So what's considered natural to me and something that I like might be considered unnatural or taboo to you. Right.
Because after reading this book that we're reading currently, there was some scenes in there that I was just like, wow. And I couldn't express more than just wow. But the girl literally said, I feel as though something's wrong with me because of the fact that I like this and this is not normal. But to me, this is amazing. Again, getting treated like a dog to her was amazing. But that was her personal experience. And she wrote it down in her journal of all the different ways that she would like to have sex. And reading it to myself, me personally, a lot of them I was just like, wow, that's interesting. I don't think I would engage in sex in that way. But she was saying this is what's making her aroused.
Right.
And then for her, trying to explain it to her partners, like, this is what I like. And they coming back with backlash, like, no, you're wrong, or, you know, this is bad, or
right, there's something wrong with
something's
you.
wrong with you.
Those thoughts or feelings.
She was with partners who could not understand that she had a different sexual experience that she enjoyed, so that kind of put her into a shell. But once she met that person that was able to understand and say, hey, I'm accepting you the way you are, guess what? She had great sex. They had a family. They had kids, and their sex life was great.
Yep.
Book 1, by the way.
Yeah, it's such a...
I'm not going to tell you about book 2.
Yeah, book 2 is...
You got to get there.
Book 2 is interesting. You know what I'm saying? We will hashtag these book titles for y'all. So if you're interested in reading a little dark romance, you can. But yeah, when it comes to what's considered natural and accepted versus taboo, now, especially with the way that like our societal values are changing and how we look at sex and sexuality, I think there are some things that are, what's the word I'm looking for? More accepted as being like, all right, got you. That's what you like, cool beans. Whereas others are like, I still don't get how that's arousing for you or something that you want to be as part of your sexual experience. So one thing that I always tell people, because I'm very much accepting of other people, is like, if that's what you like, great. So one of the things that we learned in sex school was don't yuck someone else's yum. And I love this phrase because it's one of those like, don't judge me for something that I like just because you don't like it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I always, as soon as I hear something new or something interesting, and I'm like, oh, that's different. And then you have people around you that are like, what the fuck? Why in the world would they do that or say that or participate in that? Don't yuck someone else's yum.
Don't yuck someone else's yum.
Yep.
Let me get a bam, 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 bam. Some of y'all may know what that means, but bam, 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 bam.
Exactly. So yes, ultimately, we need to come to this understanding that sexuality and sex in general is diverse and multifaceted. And there are multiple ways that it is influenced for everyone, So on a different episode, I'll go into this theory called The Circles of Sexuality by Dennis Daly. It was created like back in 1981, I believe. And it was essentially a theory that was originally used to provide a holistic perspective on sexuality, and gets often used in like social work practices. But I found this particular theory to be amazing to help better explain how multifaceted sexuality is. So that is
That'll be later down the line.
Entire podcast episode.
Right, because we're going to dive into that
Coming later.
Right. So, some of you guys may know, but I love ChatGPT because whenever I need something to get done, I just type away. So, in preparation for this episode, I wanted to just say, what are some of the most common myths around sex and human nature? Okay, so we're going to go into the top 5 of those. The first myth is men have a higher sex drive than women. I know a few females who have a higher sex drive than what a man can have. So to put everyone into one broad category, like men is higher than women, completely false. Myth is busted.
Yeah, that's almost busted. Synonymous with the idea that it's okay that men masturbate because they have to get those urges out. Off. But, if women masturbate, or rather penis owners who masturbate, they can get their rocks off. But vulva owners, if they masturbate, it's like, oh, dirty. Like what?
Scandalous.
I'm sorry, what? Scandalous.
That falls right into number 2. Men think about sex every 7 seconds.
That's a myth.
That is a myth.
I mean, I know it's a myth, but that's like the thing that came up. That's right. Interesting. Every 7 seconds.
I can guarantee there's a few people who are thinking about football, who are thinking about food, who are thinking about where their children are at. There are so many other things that's on these men's mind than sex. So every 7 seconds seemed excessive. Okay. I was thinking maybe they asked, the study could have came from what environment were they in when they were thinking, or they say 7 seconds. Because 7 seconds is a short amount of time. So to say someone's thinking about sex every 7 seconds, what environment were they in? Were they in a strip club? Were they watching porn?
Right.
Were they in the red light district? Like, what's going on? Where were they at? Because if you're telling me that you're in church and you're thinking about sex, like, what's going on? You need to go talk to the man upstairs.
I mean, some people do.
In church. Every 7 seconds.
Some people do.
7 seconds.
Don't yuck someone else's yum.
Okay, you're right. That's going to be that's the word of the day.
Word of the day.
Don't yuck someone else's yum.
Exactly.
All right. Number 3.
Moving on.
Sex and love always go together.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
That is a hard no.
Because listen, some people enjoy having sex for the fun of it. It's fun. It's exciting. It allows you to get some energy out. Some people do it as a hobby.
A job.
As a job, yes. And then there's the negative aspect of it, right? So, sex and love and it's light and airy. Some people use sex as a self-medication or as a punishment. So, no, it's not, sex and love. If you love the person, you'll have sex with the person. No, you can love them all day long and still not want to have sex with them.
Right. And sometimes you may not even be in the same mind frame of, I want to have sex with my partner, but I do love my partner. So is there something wrong with me because I don't want to necessarily be touched? No.
Exactly.
All right. Number 4, sexual orientation is a choice.
Wait, so it's not that I want to deep dive into this because you could have a whole dissertation probably on this. But something that when we were talking about these different myths, something that came to mind about this particular one was that there's this thought that, some people will, this thought / belief that, you are born gay or you were born straight and you're turned gay, whatever the case may be. And especially if I grew up in the church, I grew up very in a religious household, and there's only 2 genders and you can only be with someone of the opposite gender. That's the way it was made, right? But we understand too that, or I'll say I have come to the understanding that gender in and of itself is a social aspect, right? So there's 2 sexes, but gender is a social construct. And so there are different genders within this social construct. But also a step further than that, when you start taking that into consideration, there's these theories I was looking for. The one theory being the OBI model, so orientation, behavior, and identity. Okay. And so when you look at these 3 things and you look at them across your lifespan, your orientation may not necessarily match your behavior, which then means it may not necessarily match how you identify yourself.
Right.
In this case, for the model, it's orientation is who you are, behavior is what you do, and then identity is what you call yourself, right? So then when you talk about with regard to the different types of orientation, so there's heterosexual, so you are attracted to the opposite gender.
Okay.
Homosexual, so you're attracted to the same gender.
Right.
Bisexual, you're attracted to 2 or more genders. Asexual, you're not necessarily, from my understanding, and I know that there's more information on this, so we could probably bring in a specialist to talk about asexuality, but essentially someone who doesn't necessarily have an interest in sex is one piece of that. Queer, you use it as the umbrella term that can mean a number of things. Questioning, you're not really sure, you still want to try some things. Pansexual, meaning you don't care what's between the person's legs, you are more interested in them as a person and their character.
Okay.
So when we start talking about what is sexual orientation, that's the sexual attraction, that's fantasies, that's behavior, that's emotional attachment towards anybody. And then there's a variation within that, right? So then when you sit there and you go, okay, this is an orientation, then you say the behavior. Okay, well, my orientation in college could be that I'm heterosexual and that my partner is a penis owner and I am a vulva owner, but I very much was getting it in with girls and threesomes and all that. So does that make me bi? Or can I still say that I'm heterosexual?
Right.
And it's experimenting. So no, I don't have to identify as bisexual just because I, in the past, have had sex with people that are the same gender as me.
Right.
Right. So that's what I mean by, okay, you have your orientation, you have your behavior, and then you have your identity. Okay. So how do I identify? Where am I at on this, continuum? And so all that to say, it is a continuum. Sexuality is very fluid, and there's variations within that. And there's also variations within attraction, variations within partnerships and involvement. So you can very much stand firm in this is where I am, this is where I've been. And you can also stand firm in I was here and now I tried this, or I went out with this, or I have these feelings that I'm pursuing and now I'm here. So again, that's another one that's I would definitely bring in a specialist for that.
So 1 episode, and now we're already at 3 different podcasts.
Yeah, basically.
Got it. So you guys know there's another episode coming.
There's so many.
All right, and then the last myth: bigger or tighter means better.
No, and I say that forcefully.
That was a hard
No.
no.
Freaking no. People, a hard no. As a pelvic floor specialist, that is a hard no. You do not have to be the biggest.
You do not have to be the biggest. Wait, I want to just say, my friends will know that size does not matter.
At all.
Size don't matter. Because there was an experience that I've had with someone that was smaller. And it still was a great experience.
Exactly. Size does not matter. Bigger is not
Lindsay,
always better.
That was for you.
Tighter does not also mean better, especially with my lovely vulva owners who are coming to me left and right about having pain with sex. And when we're like, okay, let's do an exam. Let's see what's going on. And we can barely get a finger there because we're so tense in those muscles, right? That tension is what's holding you back from having pleasurable experiences.
But at the same time, we don't want to be throwing a hot dog down the hallway either.
What?
We don't want it that loose.
Yes. So if you are someone who is, death gripping your partner and complaining of it being painful, please come see me or come see any pelvic floor specialist in your area, please, because there are ways that we can help you out so you can enjoy some pleasurable experience too.
Everyone, if you have pain when having sex, please go see Nicole. She can help you out.
And I have friends that do the same thing. So yes, all this to say, myths or no myths, sexual behaviors, sex is just unnaturally natural.
Okay.
And I love that for us, And
I just want everyone to have, when you are at that point where you're having these sexual activities, experiences, don't be shy to tell your partner, nah, this ain't it. Or move to the left.
Yep.
Move to the right. Take it back one time.
Understand. I can't stand you. Anyway, and clearly we're getting delirious and long-winded in this episode. So yes, sex is unnaturally natural. It is part of the human experience if you want it to be. There are body fluids everywhere. There are places to touch.
Have fun.
Really, just have fun out there. If you're going to partake in sex, and make sure it's consensual. And also make sure that you're having fun. And find out what you like and what you don't like. There's no such thing as the perfect way to have sex. You just got to figure out what is best for you and your partner. Or for you alone. Solo can be fun. Okay.
So thank you guys for tuning in to this episode of OT
Coming on this journey.
Coming on this
winded journey.
Coming on this journey. I like the play on words that you just used.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for coming to this journey with us. Episode 2 of OT Between the Sheets. We will catch you guys next week. Same time, same place, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
All right, y'all. We out.
We out.
Thank you.